Hi everybody, welcome to Storytime at the Northumberland Public Library. I'm so glad to have you with us today. Let's sing our hello song. Are you ready? Hello friends, hello friends, hello friends. It's time to say hello. That was good. You did good today. Well, today our stories are about mermaids. Do you like mermaids? Well, we're going to start with the classic fairy tale, first written by Hans Christian Andersen in 1837, of the Little Mermaid. And this particular one is retold by Ronnie Randall and illustrated by Dubravka Kolinovich. And it comes from Peregrine Publishers. The Little Mermaid. Once upon a time, deep beneath the sea, there lived a lovely little mermaid. She had long chestnut hair, deep sea blue eyes, and a beautiful fishtail of silvery green. She also had a voice as clear and bright as crystal, the most beautiful voice in the ocean. The little mermaid lived with her father, the Sea King, and her 5 older sisters. Let's see if they're all there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and there's her father. She spent her days playing near their castle and singing to the other sea creatures. On a mermaid's 15th birthday, she's allowed to go to the surface of the sea to watch the human world. When it was the Little Mermaid's turn, she swam up eagerly. A ship was sailing nearby. As the Little Mermaid listened to the music and laughter, she saw a handsome young prince. The Little Mermaid looked at him and felt her heart melt with love. The Little Mermaid followed the ship from a distance so that she could watch the young prince. Suddenly, lightning flashed across the sky and thunder cracked. A fierce storm blew up and the ship tossed in the waves. The Little Mermaid watched as it sank, hoping that the prince was safe. When the storm was over, the Little Mermaid saw her prince. At last, he was lying in the water, with his eyes closed, too tired to swim. I must save him, the Little Mermaid thought. She swam to him and took him to the safety of the shore. She sang to him in her lovely, sweet voice until he opened his eyes. He caught only a glimpse of her before she darted away to hide in the water. Before long, a pretty girl came down to the beach. She found the prince and helped him up. The Little Mermaid watched them walk away together. Then, with an aching heart, she swam back to her home. With tears in her eyes, the Little Mermaid told her sisters that she had fallen in love with the prince. They knew who he was and took her to see his home, a castle the color of sand with steps winding down to the sea. After that, the Little Mermaid swam to the surface every day to watch the prince. I would do anything to be human so that he might fall in love with me, she told her sisters. Finally, her sisters said, "Go and visit the Sea Witch. Perhaps she can help you." The Sea Witch lived in a dark underwater forest amid slimy plants that looked like snakes. The Little Mermaid was frightened, but the thought of the prince made her brave. "I can give you a potion that will make you human," said the Sea Witch. "But if you take it, you will lose your beautiful voice. You will get it back only if you win the true love of the prince." The Little Mermaid took the potion from the Sea Witch and went home to say goodbye to her father and sisters. They were sad that she was leaving, but they all wished her happiness on land. "Always remember where you come from," her father told her, "and come back to see us once a year." The Little Mermaid promised that she would. Then she drank the witch's potion and swam to the surface, where she fell asleep on the soft sand below the prince's castle. When When the little mermaid awoke, her beautiful tail was gone, and in its place there were two long, slender legs. She was wearing a pretty gown, the same silvery green as her tail, and on her feet were two silver slippers. As she tried to stand up, the little mermaid's legs wobbled and she stumbled. Suddenly she was caught by two strong arms. She looked up right into the eyes of the handsome prince. "It's you," the prince cried. "You are the girl who saved me from drowning, aren't you? I've been looking everywhere for you." The little mermaid nodded, but she could not say a word. "Why don't you speak to me?" the prince asked, puzzled. The little mermaid couldn't answer. She could only look at the prince and hope that he could see how much she loved him. And he did. As he glanced into her deep sea blue eyes, the prince knew that she was the girl he had been looking for. "I don't care if you can't speak," he told her. "I know that I love you more than anyone on earth. Will you marry me and live with me forever?" The little mermaid's eyes shone and she nodded. Then as the prince kissed her, a wonderful thing happened. She could feel her voice returning. "Yes," she said happily, "I will marry you." They were married the next day, and the little mermaid took the name Marina, which means from the sea. At their wedding, the prince took her in his arms and whirled her across the sand. Marina's new legs danced beautifully. Every year on her birthday, Marina went down to the seashore and sang in her beautiful, crystal clear voice. Her father and sisters come up to see her, and they are glad to know that Marina and her prince would live happily ever after. The end. It's the way all fairy tales end, isn't it? They lived happily ever after. Well, I've got a mermaid song. Are you going to help me sing a song? Okay, just join right in. Have you ever seen a mermaid, a mermaid, a mermaid? Have you ever seen a mermaid swim this way and that? Swim this way and that way and this way and that way. Have you ever seen a mermaid swim this way and that? You want to try it with me? Okay, let's try it. Have you ever seen a mermaid, a mermaid, a mermaid? Have you ever seen a mermaid swim this way and that? Swim this way and that way and this way and that way. Have you ever seen a mermaid swim this way and that? Well, I hope you helped. We have one more story. And this one is about a girl who always loved mermaids and wishes that she could be friends with a mermaid. So let's see what happens to her. This one is called Mermaid and Me. And the author is just one name, Swoosh. It comes from Little Brown and Company. The author and illustrator are the same person in this one. So, Mermaid and Me. This is me, the little girl wearing a mermaid tail in an old class photo. I really loved mermaids. I was not a popular girl. My classmates didn't believe in mermaids. They would laugh, call me names, and never ask me to play games. Sometimes when I felt lonely, I would imagine I saw a mermaid in the water. She seemed so real, but it was only the sunlight playing on the waves. One day I was looking at the sea when I saw the top of a head, blue eyes, and a button nose emerge from the water. Then our eyes met. "You are a mermaid," I exclaimed with delight. The mermaid shook her head. "No, I'm a girl, an underwater girl." She paused. "You know, I like how mermaid sounds. You can call me Mermaid. And who are you?" "I'm a girl too," I said, "an above ground girl." We became friends and would spend our time together, learning about each other and having many adventures. Mermaid invited me to follow her to the bottom of the sea to look for beautiful shells. I shook my head and said, "I wish I could, but I can't swim." She smiled and splashed with her palms and said, "But you will. We will." And when we swam together, she held me gently and promised to never let go. Once Mermaid and I found a turtle caught in a piece of plastic and helped set it free. When our work was done, we watched the turtle disappear into the waves. Mermaid was learning so much about my way of life, like how it feels to ride a bicycle with the wind blowing through my hair. "I've never ridden a bicycle. I don't think I ever will," said Mermaid as she looked at her tail. I jumped up and clapped my hands. "But you will. We will." I told my friend that one of my favorite things to do was have a tea party. Mermaid sighed and said, "I wish I could go. I've never been to a tea party." I smiled. "But you will. We will." That day we had one of the best tea parties in between our two worlds. Sometimes we spotted a fisherman. When he wasn't looking, we would dive in and place an old shoe on his hook. The fisherman scratched his head as he fished out one boot after another. We would hide behind a rock and giggle. And on hot summer days, we would sit quietly, dreaming our own dreams together. One night there was a big storm. It had brought all kinds of garbage to the surface. I couldn't wait till the morning to see if my friend was safe. I looked and called out for Mermaid everywhere. Finally, I spotted her. I tried to untangle Mermaid, but the net was too strong. I needed help and saw a few of my classmates on the beach. "I know you don't believe me and you think mermaids are fairy tales, but please believe me this once," I cried. "There's a mermaid caught in a net and she needs our help." My classmates were silent for a moment. Then they turned to me and said, "Show us the way." Together, we managed to set Mermaid free. "Thank you, my friends, for saving me," said Mermaid. "But I must leave. It's not safe for me here." "Will I ever see you again?" I asked, wiping my tears. "Yes, you will. We'll see each other again." And from that day on, my classmates and I picked up any garbage we found on the shore so that Mermaid could return someday. I grew up and had a family. And all that time, I hoped to see Mermaid again, until one day I did. Wasn't that a nice story? So, those were our mermaid stories for today. And in your take and make bag, if you picked one up at the library, there's a mermaid tale you can make. This is a very easy one that you could even make at home. You just cut a paper plate and decorate her however you like and add some tails at the end. So that's a fun little craft that you can make at home. So I'm so glad you got to come today, and let's sing our goodbye song till next time. Are you ready? Goodbye, friends. Goodbye, friends. Goodbye, friends. It's time to say goodbye. See you next time.